Okay, so in case you haven't heard, there's this thing called transgenders. They're like the rest of us, except they're better with computers and they have worse fashion tastes. And apparently we elected one of them. In Montana, there is actually a state representative who is a trans woman, the only Montana trans representative, as I understand it. And the largely Republican Montana legislature recently passed a bill which bans medical treatment for trans youth. You know, you've all seen this happen before. And we got a banger of a line out of it, too.
And the only thing I will say is if you vote yes on this bill and yes on these amendments, I hope the next time there's an invocation, when you bow your heads in prayer, you see the blood on your hands.
Banger line, no notes. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Unfortunately, having zinger one-lines doesn't actually save democracy on its own. It's part of it, but it doesn't, on its own, it doesn't fix the problem. So this actually worked. And by work, I don't mean it prevented the bill from getting passed. What I mean is that it made the legislators really angry. Zooey Zephyr, a trans lady's name, if ever I heard, basically the House censured her. Here. First, Republicans in the Montana legislature tried to push through an anti-trans bill, but when a trans legislator spoke out, she was not only interrupted, but the Montana Freedom Caucus, a bloc of right-wing Republicans, said her comments amounted to hateful rhetoric and demanded her censure in an official letter that misgenders her. Fascism wasn't enough, they had to add cruelty. But worse, fascism wasn't enough, they had to add cruelty. We had cruelty-free fascism, but then, But worse, Zephyr just reported the GOP is not even letting her speak on any bill now. So essentially, they were so offended by her banger one-liner, one they could never come up with, by the way, that's why they're mad and seething and coping, that they are, they're taking punitive action against her. A Montana state representative condemned a transgender legislator's hate-filled remarks. This is Fox News, by the way. At Fox News Digital, accused the representative of seeking media attention. I like that, by the way. I like the idea that there's something wrong or bad or unusual about making statements of public condemnation as a politician. Like, what do you... What do you... Right. After her remarks, Republican Speaker Matt Regier refused to allow Zephyr to express her thoughts in a bill that would put binary definitions of sex in the state code. So normal, by the way. Like where we are right now. Where 10 years ago, like nobody even knew what a transgender, as I said, better with computers, worse fashion sense, was. And now they're like, yeah, we need to encode in the state law the exact dimensions of a vulva in order to, like, somehow facilitate this genocide they're so keyed in on. Zephyr was also barred from speaking at Thursday and Friday sessions. Not only has my colleague violated decorum, how do Montanans sound, but has broken the trust given by the other 99 representatives, Montana State Representative Braxton Mitchell told Fox News Digital. The hate-filled remarks were an act of self-service, not public service. I want you to really think for a second what this means, okay? This means that Republicans are now just barring elected officials, trans elected officials, from weighing in on discourse or speaking because they deemed an obviously permissible comment as hate-filled speech for which they are trying to censure her and prevent her from speaking. I will go straight to the obvious comparison. It is like what they did with the Jews. No, really, think about it for a second, okay? Can you imagine if there was some gigantic, like, nationwide far-right culture war against Jewish people, and there was one Jewish rep in the state house in Montana who said, you all have blood on your hands for this anti-Jewish bill. And then in response, they say, she's the hate-filled one and she can no longer speak. That's not, I'm sorry. You bring everything back to that. Yeah, I do. Because a lot of people have really bad imaginations. You know, they see all this shit going down for trans people and they're like, this is fine. This is fine. This is normal. You know, a lot of people can't even comprehend authoritarianism unless it's being drawn directly back to the one authoritarian regime we have 5 billion movies and video games about. It's even better they misgendered her in the press release. I know they did that and that's bad. It is bad. But in my mind, like, I expect that from them. The like literally blocking out a trans representative from speaking over nothing is insane. We keep seeing this, man. They did the same goddamn thing in Tennessee with the 2 Justins, our boys, who got ousted, then came back after unanimous votes from councils to return them, who immediately got skyrocketed to national prominence, for whom even Tennessee, even Republican people have been saying this was a mistake. Yeah, Du Bois. And likewise, who was it? Was it like the Republican House Speaker in Tennessee, who then immediately got found out for corruption and had to leave? Who was that? Like immediately afterwards, or was it him trying to fuck his like underage intern? It's always something with these people. Oh, yep, here it is. Sorry, I googled Tennessee Speaker corruption, and it brought up the former House Speaker Glenn Casada getting arrested 1 year ago for corruption. Sorry, I forgot. It's Republicans, you know. You Google Republican politician corruption and, you know, it's well, what do you mean? What day of the week? What do you mean? Literally, look at this. I was confused because it's, you know, yeah. You all know what I'm talking about. Just something. Tennessee Republican resigns? Would that be it? Oh, yeah, that was it. Sorry, ethics violation. There we go. Resigned suddenly for an ethics violation that became public Thursday, 2 weeks after he joined fellow Republicans in expelling 2 black Democratic blah, 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 blah. Nice. Again, Vosh, she was never officially censured. They just decided not to recognize her. Yeah, well, trying to censure her and then just not letting her speak or recognizing her is still insane, you know? Maybe they back off the full censure because they feel that would do for her the same thing that happened with our boys. Over in Tennessee. I don't really know. You know, our boys in Tennessee, the Justins, are, you know, pretty charismatic guys. Zooey is pretty charismatic herself. I really, really hope a lot of national attention is brought to this because the consequence of like, because guys, let's be real, okay? They are just going to start ousting and like completely politically disempowering blue House members in state legislatures all across the country. They don't care about democracy. They don't. It's a coup, okay? And they start slow with the excuses. Oh, the 2 Justins were loud in our building. Oh, this transgender said that we have blood on our hands. Ooh. But they're going to do it with all of them. They're going to do it with all of them. They don't care. And they're testing the waters, right? They're trying to see what they can get away with. It didn't work in Tennessee. But what if it works here? You know? What if with Zooey, not enough public attention is drawn to this and they just nothing comes of it. The Oklahoma House also censured the first non-binary member a week ago. For what? I didn't even hear about this. I wonder why they're deliberately targeting the people who are part of the minority group that they want to kill every member of. Wow, that's crazy. Was censured by leaders after the non-binary rep offered a protester the use of an office in the aftermath of an arrest. I can see a person getting in trouble for that, though probably not a censure. It's always difficult to assess stuff like this because Republicans can literally like babies on the floor of the House and not get in trouble for it. So like in reality, I will never support any punitive action against any Democrat that is being done by Republicans because they'll never have a good reason to do it. You know? But, like, that's the point of testing the waters. You start with, like, whatever obvious excuse you can use, and then you build it up and up. And now we're to the point where just, like, saying something mean counts. I applaud the Speaker and Majority Leader for giving my colleague opportunities to rectify the consequences of this stunt, the Republican lawmaker added. Since the hateful attack on the House, the representative has tried to create further opportunities to seek media attention. Will not stand for it. What they're essentially saying is, like, not being silent and complicit in our genocide is the same as being hateful yourself. That's what they're like. As a politician, any denunciation, disagreement, rebuke, anything like that is an attack on the House itself, and for that you are not allowed to participate. It's so unambiguous, guys. It's so unambiguous. Vosh, you have a platform, why don't you signal boost it? You're right. Maybe sometime in the future I'll use my public platform to bring any, some kind of attention to this issue. Probably not right now, though. Also in Montana? What? Also in Montana. Huge rattlesnake den in Montana is the stuff of nightmares. Okay. What? All right. This is news for a flyover state. Yeah, Montana statewide news is when somebody, like, finds a lot of snakes in a pile instead of a medium number of snakes. Yeah. I've never found snakes that scary. I know they're very dangerous, of course, but they're also very cute, you know? Montana House votes to censure transgender lawmaker. Zooey Zephyr. This is the woman who said to her fellow state legislators that they had blood on their hands for voting against transgender health care for youth. Now she's been censured. She may no longer speak. She can vote, but she cannot speak. Barred from the House floor, anteroom, and gallery for the remainder of the session. She has the option to participate remotely, but only by voting. So she's not even allowed in the building. This kind of hateful rhetoric from an elected official is exactly why tragedies such as the Covenant Christian school shooting in Nashville occurred. Yeah, nice. These people are Nazis. They vote on anti-trans legislation, and and even the slightest pushback from a trans woman in House leads to every single Republican in the legislature voting to censure her, and then saying, you condemning us being anti-trans is why this one random trans person did a school shooting, even though no motive has been established. Extremely super ultra duper pro-free speech. There were protests outside the Capitol before, but it's Montana. Montana is such a deep red state. I mean, look at this, 68 House Republicans to 32 Dems. It's not even close. If nothing else, Zooey Zephyr has been elevated to national prominence for this. This is, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'll say it a million times. It is no different at all from a Nazi legislature censuring a Jew for speaking out against, like, one of the hundreds of anti-Jew laws that were passed in Germany. You know, before the Holocaust happened, there were hundreds of laws they passed, some big, some small, to restrict the rights and freedoms of Jewish people. It's comparable in every respect with zero differences in this case. There is no difference at all. They are just silencing her because she is trans, and that is that. They don't want her being able to draw attention to the cruelty of their legislature. She'll still be able to vote, but she won't be able to speak, which really denies her the ability to take advantage of that platform, though she'll no doubt be speaking to local media. I hope she stays safe. It's Montana. I'm sure there are plenty of people over there who would have her killed if they could. So hopefully she stays safe, yeah. When I rose up and said there is blood on your hands, I was not being hyperbolic. I was speaking of the real consequences of the votes that we legislators take in this body. And when the speaker asks me to apologize on behalf of decorum, what he's really asking me to do is be silent when my community is facing bills that get us killed. He is asking me to be complicit in this legislature's eradication of our community, and I refuse to do so, she said. I will always refuse to do so. If nothing else, not to optics, Frog, this does look pretty bad for the GOP. Like, there's basically no context in which people are looking at this from afar and going like, whew, thank goodness those Republican legislators ousted Zoe. Like, that's like, I haven't seen conservatives talk about this at all. You know, it's like the Tennessee situation. They don't want to talk about it because it just doesn't, you know, it makes them look like insane anti-democrat sorry, not anti-democrat like the party, anti-democratic lunatics, you know? And it's pretty hard to parse this with a free speech narrative. Hopefully this elevates her platform to the point that she's able to do more good than she was just as an equal legislator. But we'll see. And she has to stay safe for that to be the case.